Hey everybody, it's a video mailbag here on MassLive.com. John Karalis, joined by Tom Westerholm. We're your two MassLive beat writers. We're going to do this new thing, so we're trying it. We asked you for questions. We got a couple of video responses. If you want to send us a video response, you can email me, jkaralis@masslive.com. Record your question, we'll pop it on here. But let's get to one of the questions that was submitted. Tom, say it was the beginning of February, trade deadline is here. Do you think the Celtics make a trade for a big man at the deadline, and who might that be? Also looking for some trade packages. This is Joe in New Hampshire who's looking for just trade packages for a potential big man maybe at the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely possible. I think, before we get to the deadline, I mean, I think everybody should probably calm down a little bit because we need to see what this team can do first. I mean,
right.
they played really well in the preseason. Some of the young guys have done a nice job, especially in Summer League. And I think, you'd have to assume that some of those young guys would be included in those trade packages. So I think that, you got to see what this team has. Like, they're pretty good. They've got, a lot of nice pieces. And I think they kind of want to know what they can do before they start sending out these really talented assets, or these really talented players and some of their really valuable assets in exchange for a deal. So I would imagine that there will be some noise and there will be some, some names on the table. We've already heard, Domantas Sabonis sounds like he's potentially on the trade block, and obviously Indiana's situation is one to monitor. I'm sure we'll need to keep an eye on Orlando as well, with their, just
glut of big men.
Yeah. But I think that we'll definitely see stuff. We'll see rumors come across the Twitter timeline. But I don't necessarily anticipate anything early because I do think that they like what they have and they'd like to see what it is.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing. We have an idea, and I think if there's any lesson that we can learn from last year is that the ideas that we have in the preseason, even having seen some of the preseason results, don't necessarily carry over. So we need to get through at least the first few months. And really, trades don't necessarily happen until the middle of December. That's when a lot of these guys are eligible to be traded. By then, we'll have a better idea. So yeah, Sabonis is in there. I've been kind of looking at Miles Turner, but you never know exactly what you have, which is correct. You never know, even like if you look at a guy like Daniel Tice, who was not like an individual, you don't look at him as an individual defender, but because of the familiarity with this team, you don't know if the entire sum of the parts is going to be greater. So we'll hold off on all of that other stuff. We'll save that for another mailbag. We've got a video question. Let's check this out.
What's up, John and Tom? Question for you about the bench point guard role, how that's going to evolve over the season. Who do you think should the reins be given to first, whether it's Carson or Wanamaker or whoever, and how do you think it's going to play out over the season?
Appreciate that question. Anytime you can CGI yourself in front of a background like that, it's always welcome as well. The first point guard off the bench, I think you're going to have to go with Brad Wanamaker, the proven entity for now. I mean, a lot of this is about just getting a proven team on the floor with that chemistry. Carson will certainly get time, but not as a point guard. I think Marcus Smart is going to be looked at to be a primary ball handler as well. So however those rotations work out, I probably am looking at Marcus Smart as a first point guard off the bench. Wanamaker's going to get his minutes. Carson's going to be a shooter. Tremont Waters is he's got an amazing feel for the game, but he's going to be the two-way guy, so we're not going to see him much.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I mean, I think, I can't imagine that Wanamaker came back to, potentially sit on the bench as much as he did last season. I don't think that he'll be, and I mean, he's been really useful. Like he played really well last year. He's looked good in the preseason. So I don't think it's crazy at all to assume that he will get a lot of minutes and that he'll sort of assume that backup role along with Smart, like you said. I mean, obviously Smart, he's going to be their sixth man. He's sort of like their sixth starter. And I think that the other guy to keep an eye on is Hayward. I think they'll have him do a lot of the, the primary ball handling, the initiating. Something he's really good at, and it's something he didn't necessarily have a chance to do as much last year when he was still sort of recovering. So I think that combination of guys, and like you said, I think Carson will be a little bit more of a scorer, a little more of the guy who comes off the bench and they're just like, listen, for the next 15 minutes, go get us some buckets. We'll see what happens there. I think that's more what they will say to him than can you run the offense for a little while.
Right. And we did see him working on driving and kicking because when you're a shooter and you attack a closeout, you're going to have to drive and kick. That's just part of it, but that's not going to be his primary function. Right. Moving on to Dana wants to know, have we seen any sign that Enes Kanter may be improving within the Celtics defense? I happen to see Enes as he is who he is, and he's going to have his moments where he can get things done, and he's going to have some moments where he opens up his hips and he lets a guy go by in baseline, and that's just going to be how it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, the Celtics system is as good at defense. I mean, Brad is good at directing a defense, and, it doesn't always necessarily have to be, like the quickest footed guy, the bounciest guy. Like, it's just got to be guys who buy into their roles. So I think defensively, as long as the Celtics buy into their roles and as long as they sort of, follow the system that Stevens is going to try to put them in, they'll be pretty good. Like, they'll be fine. And how Kanter fits into that, we'll see. But I think that, there's reason to have plenty of optimism for the Celtics defense, up and down the board. Like, there were times where they just looked suffocating during the preseason, and it's just preseason, but it is NBA basketball.
Sure. And the one thing to keep in mind, though, as well, is that Enes Kanter is going to be going up against second units. And that's going to help a little bit because it's just a little bit more flexibility there with your defense. And this leads us into a question from B on Twitter. Do you think there will be a logjam at the 5 this year, and who will start there primarily? She mentions that she loved Robert Williams in one of the preseason games, but I think we've seen it shake out. And Williams has been hurt. He's just coming out of the concussion protocol. He should be cleared by the season opener in Philadelphia, but there's still some kind of uncertainty about that. So because he's missed so much time, I don't know how much time he's going to get in that game. Regularly, though, I think Tice has stepped into that starting role, right?
I think so, and especially when you look at, again, just preseason, but when you look at some of those defensive lineups that had Tice at the center, I mean, they were really good. Like, he's so mobile, and he moves his feet really well. He helps cover the pick and roll really well, and you were mentioning before the concepts. I mean, that really, really matters on a team that's going to be trying to win right away, to have guys who know exactly what they're trying to do. Tice has been here for a while. He's played really well within his role during the preseason. I think there's a lot of reason to believe that he ends up starting and getting a lot of the minutes there at the center.
Yeah, I think that's how it shakes out, and we'll see. Brad Stevens did say it's going to be situational. There are going to be some games where maybe he doesn't. Maybe he has said some guys are going to get 30 minutes one game and 0 minutes the next. I mean, and I hate to put that on guys without knowing exactly, but like I would expect that Tice might be in a situation like that. I remember he did say there's probably about 4 or 5 guys that you can pencil in for minutes. Everybody else is pretty much up in the air. Yeah. Let's go to Australia for a video question from Justin.
G'day, John. We seem to be gelling really well on and off the court as a team at the moment. I'm just wondering how much of that can be attributed to Kyrie's influence being gone, the influence of Kemba being on the team, or what other factors may be involved in the way we're gelling together at the moment. Thanks, mate.
We joked about this once where it's almost like the de-Kyrieing of this team. I know there was that piece about the de-Kobe-fying of Jason Tatum's shot, but this is like the de-Kyrieing of this team. Whether it's intentional or not, there's certainly some level of this team was kind of taken over in the sense by Kyrie, and he's a moody guy. He's not gonna. You don't know what you're gonna expect from day to day. This team has definitely gone full togetherness. Everybody's trying to just be happy together and do things together, and I do think there's some reaction, like I said, intentionally or not, to what the atmosphere was on this team last year.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I think you can see it in sort of, even in just the team building. I mean, all these guys that they brought in are, good guys, easy guys to work with. And, they've got guys coming off the bench who are talented. They've got, up and down the roster, they're talented players, but they're also guys who are willing to buy into a team concept and who are willing to play hard. And, I think that it's partly, obviously, Kemba's done a really nice job so far, but I think that it's up and down the roster. It's guys who are willing to accept a role, who are buying in, and who aren't going to necessarily isolate 100 times a game. I think just schematically, I think that really matters, and I think that makes everybody a little happier too. So if I think the vibe does sort of stem from the style of play sometimes, and I think that could be the case here.
Yeah, you heard Marcus Smart talking about we're going to give rookies as much positive reinforcement as they can get. I don't know if that's specifically Kyrie, but like that's something that is definitely a focus this year. It's all about positivity. It's all about just getting the most out of these guys. Because as Marcus Smart said, they need everybody to step up. They're going to need Grant Williams. They're going to need Carson to step up. They're going to need all of these guys to give you some minutes, some level of production, and you need the confidence out of these guys. So the vibes out of the Auerbach Center here have been all about positivity, and we know maybe that if you're reading some of the pieces and you're saying like, geez, there's nothing going wrong in Boston, well, that's preseason. That's how it goes. So a lot of this is also a function of they haven't had anything to really be negative about. They haven't had any, like, after the Philadelphia game, we'll get a real sense of, okay, some things have gone wrong. Maybe after a week or two, some things may have gone wrong. Maybe some guys aren't getting the playing time that they thought or aren't performing like they thought. And then we'll start to see how they react to some of the negative influences. So I think that's something to watch for. Okay, final question. This is a fun one. It's me and you, and it's a fantasy NBA pickup game. We get to pick anybody in NBA history to go 5-on-5 with. Do you have an idea of who you might want?
I mean, I'm a shooter.
You're a shooter.
I like to play with other shooters.
You want four guys that are going to pass you the ball no matter what?
No. I like having guys who are also like spacing the floor. Guys who, if I'm getting the ball in the corner, then there's gravity elsewhere. There's guys. So I mean, my first pick is going to be Steph because
Okay.
People swarm to him, get 2-3 defenders on him at one time. There's nobody guarding me. Wide open shots for days. So yeah, big time. Basically, give me the Warriors from last year. Like I'll take that. Just like a bunch of dudes, just like hoisting threes and having a good time. That's how I like to play the game.
I'm gonna go full on brand. I'm gonna go into like 80s and 90s. Like I want Charles Oakley. I want those guys that are just gonna go out there and just bash you in the face and then make you afraid to take a shot. So like I want, and of course, like I'm a big guy. I like to set some picks. I like to free some guys up. So I want guys who can drive and who can kick. So the elite wings. My favorite player that I'd ever want to play with is prime Grant Hill before the injury. So and it's kind of the same way. Like everybody's so focused on him. Like he's got to pass somewhere.
That's the thing.
So that would be my team. I would load it up with some of those 80s and 90s types of guys. Of course, McHale and Bird. I'd throw those guys on there. I'll just sit down and eat popcorn and watch these guys play. So that's the video mailbag. Hope you like it. We're trying it out. It's the first one. So you want to email me the questions, jkaralis@masslive.com. You can write your questions like some of these people did. You can record yourself like some of these people did and send them to us. It'd be really appreciated. We're here at the Auerbach Center, and it's 2 days before opening night in Philadelphia. We'll both be there, so check us out. I'm RedsArmy_John on Twitter. It's Tom_NBA, and all of our work obviously is on MassLive.com/Celtics.